So I'm back from Brazil. You all know me by now. For the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to take you to the fantastic country of Brazil, and 20 minutes of action-packed slides and moving pretty fast through lots of wonderful species. If you received our newsletter recently, I had I wrote an article in there about being back in Brazil last year. We ran lots of our itineraries, our Just Jaguars tour, our Pantanal and Iguazu tour, a new tour, the mammals and birds of the Amazon and the Pantanal, the Amazon cruise, the Pantanal cruise. All those tours are back in 2022. It was a brilliant season in Brazil, as it's shaping up again to be in 2023. So I'm going to cover largely the Just Jaguars itinerary, and then at the end just cover fairly briefly some of those other tours as well, with a little bit about how it went last year and some of the sightings. So we get to the Pantanal with a direct flight to about 12 hours into Sao Paulo, and then a couple of hours flight from Sao Paulo to Cuiabá, and that's the sort of the entry city to the Pantanal. This area here, this light green area, is the Pantanal, about the size of France, huge, the world's largest wetland, and absolutely teeming with wildlife. And it's absolutely fantastic destination. So once we're into Cuiabá, then we jump into a traditional minibus and drive around an hour to the town of Poconé. And it's really from here that the fun really begins, and we're soon onto this the amazing Trans-Pantanera Road. Those of you watching that have been there will have fantastic memories, no doubt, of travelling along this incredible road. So soon after we start the Trans-Pantanera, we jump into a sort of an open top safari vehicle. And we're travelling along, stopping and starting, looking at all the incredible range of wildlife. And our first lodge on the Just Jaguars tour is Pouso Alegre here, in sort of the northern end of the kilometre 33 of the 147 kilometre Trans-Pantanera Road. And this road was initially built to span the Pantanal, but of course, it's not a great idea building a road across the world's largest wetland. So it ends in Porto Jofre. So essentially, you travel along this road, then you access the area of highest jaguar density here, and then you sort of retrace your steps back along the Trans-Pantanera, and that's the way we work it in the northern Pantanal. So as I was saying, we'll move into a vehicle such as this one here, nice at a height off the ground, open-sided, perfect view. Can get a bit dusty, or but that's well made up for by the fact you can have such a brilliant view of all the wildlife surrounding you. And it's difficult sometimes to move 50 meters along this road because there's just so much to look at. Every moment saying, "Oh, stop! Look at that! Or stop! Look at that!" And it's hard to push on at times. It's absolutely superb. So pretty much every body of water is crowded with birds. So there's lots of wood storks here and great egrets. Largely there'll be a range of different heron species as well. Every single little dot in the water here is a Yakari caiman. There are millions of them. You remember the estimates are something ridiculous, between 35 and 80 million Yakari caiman in the Pantanal. They're absolutely everywhere, and it's just an incredible sight. So the northern end of the Trans-Pantanera will start off in sort of open ground and sort of ranch land and open fields and horse paddocks and sort of this broken gallery forest. And then as you work your way south, heading towards the jaguar zone that we're heading for, it becomes more water around, larger water bodies, and it's sort of a changing habitat. But the whole way along is just an incredible abundance of wildlife. Here's a close-up of a Yakari caiman munching on a catfish. And again, all the photos in the talk by group members, a few by myself, and the tour leaders. It's a brilliant destination for photography. You can get close to an awful lot of the star species, and very, very special indeed. So you probably don't need two guesses at what this Yakari caiman had attempted to have for its dinner. This amazing photo was sent in from a tour last year. And yes, had to go to Brazilian porcupine. Bit of a tricky meal there. Got a quill or two stuck into it, but absolutely amazing. And yeah, you need your lots of your memory cards for a trip to the Pantanal in terms of photography. This is Jabiru stork, the tallest flying bird in the Americas. A real beauty and yeah, abundant, commonly seen. And again, we can get some super shots of them just fishing in the shallows next to the Transpantanera. And we never use the word guaranteed in wildlife tourism. That's an absolute no-no. But you are guaranteed to see capybaras. They're all over the place, grazing on the lawns of the lodges. Around every corner when you're exploring, there'll be capybaras around. And this is almost certainly a male. He's got this large sort of lump here, this scent gland, marilla they call it, larger on males than females. And there's lots of them around. So again, another species on the menu for jaguars, as the jaguars feed very heavily on the Yakari caiman, also on capybara as well. The bird life's spectacular. This is snail kite, one of the more commonly seen raptors along the Transpantanera. The really distinctively hooked bill feeds on quite large apple snails. And this is just a shot of they're all snail kites, a big sort of migratory flock of snail kites there. Really, really impressive numbers. So we'll have seen an awful lot even before we reach Puerto Alegre. And the reason that we stay here largely is because of this 7 kilometer long sort of private driveway. There's not often a lot of traffic on Transpantanera, but you can have vehicles coming the other direction. But here we've got this driveway to ourselves to drive up and down, get the spotlight out in the evening. Really nice mix of habitats here, open grassland, lovely forested areas, and lots of lakes and pools dotted along this driveway. It's a cracking place to stay, and we spend the first 2 nights of the tour here. It's the most basic of the 3 accommodations we're using on the Just Jaguars tour, but it's clean, it's comfortable, air-conditioned rooms. It's a shot of one of the rooms here. Lovely place to stay. Just wandering around the grounds, we may see Azara's agouti or South American coati here, 2 of the more commonly seen mammal species. And as I was saying, those pools along the entrance driveway are a real magnet for tapir. What a wonderful animal. There's the young animal here with the stripes down its side. And it was a brilliant season last year, actually, for tapir. You've seen on pretty much every departure and multiple animals. I think one to even sort of 5 different animals in one day. And I was reading one report that was sent in from the November Just Jaguars tour that before they even reached Puerto Alegre, they'd already seen 2 jaguars, 2 ocelot, and a tapir, and lots of other birds. It's very unusual to see jaguars that far north along the Transpantanera, but they are all around this area, of course. Giant anteater, I touched on in talking about Guyana. A chance of giant anteater in this, again, in the more northern area of the Transpantanera. Incredible animal. The youngster clinging onto its mother's back here as it's crossing the sandy dirt road of the Transpantanera. This is a southern tamandua, the cousin of the giant anteater. This arboreal anteater. He's up in the trees raiding termite nests and bees' nests up in the trees. And occasionally gets down to the ground, of course. But there's wildlife at every turn. You've got to be sharp-eyed everywhere when you're visiting. The grounds of Puerto Alegre are first class for birding. This is hyacinth macaw, of course. It's incredibly strong bill cracking through this palm nut, and they breed in the ground, so we've got a superb chance of seeing them. Again, they often pose wonderfully well for photos. In the grounds, we'll see greater rhea here, and chestnut-eared araceli, two very special species that we hope to encounter and enjoy just around the. Getting out for some nice walks, able to stretch our legs a bit here, get out onto the onto these sort of open grounds and walk around the lodge. And then after our 2 nights at Pouce Alegre, we're back onto the Transpantanera Road, and we're travelling all the way to the end where it runs out at Porto Joffre. I'm stopping and starting on the way, getting off for leg stretches whenever we need to. There's no rush. There's an awful lot to see, and it's an absolute safari in itself. A couple of capybara crossing the road here, the youngster there. And this is our destination. We reach Porto Joffre. We then hop into some motorboats and travel for around 15, 18 kilometers upriver to the Jaguar Flotel. And it's our base for the next 4 nights, staying here at the Flotel, which doubles as a sort of research station. The jaguars are very closely studied. There's a log of every single animal that's been seen over a number of years, and it's a brilliant place to stay, and gives us access to the very best areas very quickly. We don't need to travel anywhere to get to the key rivers for the jaguars. We're already there. So it actually increases our chance of having private sightings at times, because we can strike out and reach areas long before people coming from further afield. Very nice rooms, probably the nicest accommodation you can have in the area. And we use the suites on the Just Jaguars itinerary. So these are the larger rooms with lovely views, very spacious rooms. And then it's a case of getting out onto the smaller spotting boats and exploring the area. It's great fun, heading up little tributaries and riverways, getting out on the Cuyaba River and the Puquiri, and finding wildlife. You see here the boats in 2 rows of 6, so we have maximum of 12 in a group. So essentially everyone has a side, and so everyone's got a perfect view. And there's just so much to see. Black skimmer here, an amazing bird. That incredibly elongated lower mandible. You get flocks of them just cruising over the water, just drifting that lower mandible through the surface of the water and connecting with its next meal. Just as it's demonstrating here, gliding over the water. You might come around the next bend and there'll be hyacinth and macaws coming down for a drink, and some black vultures there. Lots to look at. Yellow anaconda here. Holding up in a hole in the riverbank that was created by the catfish, and the water recedes, and it leaves quite a few holes in the riverbank, and it's a good place to check out and look for a basking yellow anaconda. So I called it the jaguar zone earlier. It could really also be called the giant otter zone. It's a brilliant place to see giant otters and spend time with them and get some absolutely brilliant views. Here they're used to people being around. They're very photogenic. They don't show a great deal of fear, and they'll move around in these big family parties, noisy, feeding a lot of the time and posing really well. They've got this unique markings on their throat, so each animal has a sort of different markings here, which this one's showing very well. And it's a privilege to spend time with them when you're in the Pantanal, and we'll shut off the engine, just spend time watching them, traveling around. These are all photos. Most of these photos taken from last season. Lovely family party of giant otters there. And again, the photographic opportunities are amazing. It's how close up you can get to them. And this animal's caught a fish very close to us and is taking it away to munch through it. Rather unfortunate day for that fish there, and you can see the teeth of the giant otter there. And this is our ultimate goal. The reason we've traveled all this distance to get to this incredible place is to see and spend time with the mighty jaguar. We'll be traveling the waterways, looking on the sort of gaps in the gallery forest, and hoping to see a sight just like this, a jaguar resting on the riverbank. And right through the season, so we run the tours from June right through to November. And throughout the season, there's not really a distinct month that has a better chance than another. the riverbanks that the jaguars hunt along and could be seen along are exposed throughout that season. So it's a fantastic chance to see them whenever you visit, really. And this is a bit more of an atmospheric habitat shot of finding a jaguar. And this is what I mean by the banks of the river. It will fluctuate a little bit, but only fluctuates the water level on the river by sort of a couple of meters through the season. So you don't see a great deal of difference whether you're there, at the start of the season in June or at the end of the summer in sort of October, November. We can witness some amazing behavior. We've got 4 nights, so we're getting out morning and afternoon and finding jaguars, of course, appreciating all the wildlife we come across. And we see some amazing sights. This is an adult and a young jaguar having a tug of war with a yellow anaconda, pulling it apart there. Unfortunate snake, but what a photo from a few seasons ago, that one. And a photo taken from one of the tours last year, a jaguar creeping over a branch overhanging the river. Just stunning opportunities for amazing views and also photographs as well. And as I said, often it's the nature there. You will be watching jaguars with other boats around, but our goal was prime our guys to get out and try and find have private time with jaguars, and we're perfectly positioned on the flotel. We might then, we've had some amazing sightings with other boats around. We might strike out upriver on the Pequary to try and find our own. And when I was there a couple of years ago, we came around the bend. It was just us around, no one else about. And these 2 jaguar cubs are swimming across the river to get from one side to the other. And we could hear the sort of quite loud alarm calls from the female that was desperately trying to call them back. We just obviously immediately closed off and gave them plenty of space. And being like children, they took absolutely no notice of mum and just carried on swimming across the other side. And we watched her as she swam and caught them up. It was an amazing encounter and no one else around. And that's essentially our aim when we're there, to spend time with these beautiful big cats. So after our fill of jaguars, if there's ever such thing as that, we're back onto the Trans-Pantanera, back along these 122, I think, rickety bridges, and the wealth of wildlife that comes with it. We will then finish up with 3 nights at South Wild Pantanal Lodge, or Santa Teresa. It's also known as, and it's a lovely place to finish the tour back on the land-based lodge, chance to stretch our legs, explore around the grounds, and get out on the water as well. Really nice, good, comfortable lodge to finish the tour. Sun bitters displaying here, very frequently seen, and a fantastic chance to see the beautiful agami heron. I showed you a young bird on the Guyana slides. This is an adult agami heron with this really long, dagger-like bill, and it's almost mane-like feathering around the neck. Beautiful bird. And on one boat trip here, you can often see all 5 of South America's kingfish. This is green and rufous kingfisher. We also have green kingfisher, Amazon, ringed kingfisher, and an American pygmy kingfisher. So it's a brilliant place to enjoy your kingfishers. Taco toucan coming down to the grounds of the lodge, and there's some often bits of fruit are put out in a feeding station. It brings in lots of species, including this absolute beauty. There's a screen that's put up. You can walk out to around 300 meters from the lodge in the evenings, and you can walk out and sit and wait patiently for another beautiful cat to hopefully appear. This is the ocelot, a beautiful animal. It will hopefully come out and show for a little time in an open area, short distance from the lodge, and then it's back to the lodge to relax after that. But there's just so much to see. There's wildlife around every turn. There's even an area where mangoes fall and are put out, and occasionally a tapir will come out into the open area, so you can sit and wait to watch the tapir as well. So many highlights. So that's a very quick whistle stop through the Just Jaguars tour. I'm running over a little bit, but I'm eating a little bit into question and answers. But we have a number of other itineraries, of course, and there are so many options with a holiday to Brazil. You can do the Just Jaguars tour and add on certain extensions, or you can travel on our Pantanal and Iguazu itinerary. This is the magnificent Iguazu Falls here. which is a little bit more bird focused, but you're still seeing all the mammals, of course, and it combines it with time, birding around the fantastic Atlantic rainforest habitat, as Andy was talking about, which is found down here around the falls. So we not only soak up the incredible falls, quite literally, and we also get some great birding as well. This is a great dusky swift here, one of the emblematic birds of Iguazu, which roosts and nests actually often behind these curtains of water. And this one here, hunkering down his nest with covered in water, quite amazing. And spot-billed toucanet as well, one of the sort of star species here. Excuse me. Last year we ran for the first time our birds and mammals of the Amazon and Pantanal itinerary. So we're combining the Amazon and the Pantanal. It's a fantastic tour, and this is a view across the southern Amazon here. So it's a short flight from Cuiabá to Alta Floresta to access this area, and we stay at a fantastic reserve, Fazenda São Nicolau, to experience the southern Amazon and a whole different range of species, of course. And one of the features of that tour is visiting an active harpy eagle nest. They're studied very well in this area, and there's over 30 nests that are being monitored in this state, and we'll be able to have the privilege of visiting an active nest site. There's a beautiful young bird here. Look at the power in those legs and those talons there. An absolutely fantastic bird. And a visitor a couple of years ago now, actually, the young bird came onto the tower. There's a tower that's positioned so you can view the nest at eye level. And this the inquisitive youngster came and said hello, but quite intimidating, looking down on the guest there. Those huge feet, the huge talons, powerful enough to take monkeys and sloths, of course. And a beautiful adult if you're lucky. It's also a brilliant area for macaws, of course. Blue and yellow macaw here, and some rare primates. This is white-nosed saki, and there's also grey woolly monkeys. Some very range-restricted primates can be found here. So it's a brilliant few days in the Amazon, then followed by the Pantanal. You can also get out into the Pantanal on the cruise. We head further into all the way to sort of the fully protected Pantanal National Park on the Panoramico. So we cover the core jaguar area, having some amazing views of giant otters along the way, more incredible jaguar action, and then travelling all the way to the protected area of the national park. And these sort of granite peaks, a long way into the heart of the Pantanal on this exclusive cruise. So moving a little bit away from the Pantanal, we also run an amazing cruise up the Amazon along the Rio Negro all the way to the João National Park, and that ran again in 2022 with great success and some fabulous sightings. Again, chartering the Iracema, so we can go exactly where we want, moor up where we want every evening, and get out onto the smaller spotting boats to find wildlife. View of one of the cabins there. And just getting out on these dugout canoes and exploring deep into the Amazon. So this is from Manaus, so we're heading far into the sort of heart of the Amazon, and just such a range of species to find there. Spangled cotinga here, white-throated toucan, swallowtail kites, hoatzins lining the edge of the river there. Wire-tailed manakins, one of the star species. Golden-backed uakari. There's lots of different species to find, and it was a really successful cruise again last year. It was great to be back, and a fantastic opportunity to see the pink river dolphin as well. So it's a really super cruise. That's a whistle stop through the Pantanal and a few other of our Brazil itineraries. As I said, there's so many options. We have a whole range of itineraries still, with some spaces left for this year, and dates are up for most tours for next year as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. I'll leave you with a jaguar.